Just some more thoughts on this piston and circlip business from that 500 Royal Enfield engine, and I've deliberately got the other remaining circlip fitted incorrectly, deliberately, on the side of the piston where the other circlip appeared to have escaped for whatever reason. And notice how close the ears of the circlip are together when it's not located properly, it's not in the groove. That's how close they are, and to get the circlip in there you have to have the ears almost touching one another. Now what I'm going to attempt to do, if it doesn't ping off into the distance, is I'll put the camera down for a moment and use my screwdriver to hopefully seat the circlip where it should be in the groove, and then we'll take another look at it. I'll just put the camera there for a moment. This could all go horribly wrong. Ah, click, right, it's in. Now that gap there, now it's fitted in the in its groove all the way round, as it was when I fitted it, and you can see the gap between the ears of the circlip now has have opened up again, and that circlip is fully home in its groove. But I need to find out why a circlip so fitted would have escaped, and next I'm going to look at and consider the fit of the end of the gudgeon pin against it, and also the length of the gudgeon pin when it's fitted in the piston, whether it allows any sort of gap between its ends and the circlip grooves, or whether it's hard up against the circlips at either end when it's fitted, because I'd like to get to the bottom of this for my own satisfaction. So we'll come back to this when I've got the gudgeon pin to look at in there and see if there are any clues. But for now, that's how the circlip seats in the piston there. Whether the groove it fits in is deep enough or wide enough or whatever really sort of remains to be seen. I mean, I would have thought that that looked okay, but if we've got a gudgeon pin that is long enough to not allow both circlips to seat fully and properly in their grooves, that could be a clue. So I'll be looking there next. So I'll get ready with that and we'll come back to this shortly. But here we are, back with this piston, and I think I have an answer. I fitted the gudgeon pin, and as we've seen, I already had a circlip fitted in the side of the piston where the previous circlip had escaped, and I drove the gudgeon pin through. I didn't have to use excessive force or anything. I used a suitable drift and a light hammer just to tap it through actually, and what I wanted to do was drive it far enough that it sort of registered against the circlip in the piston and came to a stop, so that I could check the sort of gap or clearance there might be left for the circlip on the other side, to see if the gudgeon pin might be too long or whatever. And I don't think it is too long, but interestingly and very surprisingly, when I was driving the gudgeon pin home, it didn't actually come to a stop against the gudgeon against the circlip as I would have expected, but it actually has unseated the circlip and started to drive it out of its groove. Look how close the ears are together now, and I really wasn't using any great force. I was just using a drift and just tapping the gudgeon pin into position. I'd never ever have expected to see that, where it's actually the gudgeon pin has forced the circlip to unseat from its groove and start on its way out, which is just what happened when the piston was fitted in the engine, and obviously the circlip was displaced further than that and pushed against the side of the cylinder bore. So there's the answer. The piston The grooves for the circlip in the piston and the circlip themselves, I should use the plural actually, the grooves for the circlips and the circlips themselves, where this piston is concerned, are incompatible. So that's been the cause of the problem. So I really couldn't understand why I had that picture of the circlip fitted in place, and obviously the ears were much further apart than that, and certainly the circlip was correctly fitted home in the groove, and yet somehow it managed to get out. Well, there's the answer. That's how it's done it. I reckon there would have been minimal sort of side loads or thrusts on that gudgeon pin required to shift that circlip and get it out, because that went very easily when I was driving that gudgeon pin through. Also, perhaps some people have commented that you know, the orientation of the circlip and the ears must be vertical and this, that, and it. Well, I can sort of see the thinking behind that, but one possible contributing factor to displacing it might have been the hammering effect from the big end which had developed play in the engine. So there would have been quite a lot of jolting at top and bottom dead centre through this piston, which may have aggravated the situation, but honestly that didn't take any real amount of force to displace that circlip. So I'm happy and satisfied that I found the cause, and I'll be looking out for that in future when I rebuild these engines, because that's not one I've come across before, and that really isn't good at all. Piston, incidentally, I'm not sure what make it is. It's 0.5 millimetre oversize, and we've got 1311, I think it is, in there. We've got NP there, and we've got 142186 there. So I don't know who's responsible for making that, whether the circlips were a mismatch, but the piston and those type of circlips are not happy together. You certainly don't want to be used together as far as I'm concerned. But it's an answer at last, so that's a good thing.